Another edition of Monday Night Football. And of course, this is still in our current digs whilst we sort out the new ones ahead of the new season. But we're seeing things through. And that, of course, means focusing on what has happened this past weekend, with, of course, the big result being the Nedbank Cup being settled. TTM crowned champions, beating Chipa with a championship scoreline of 1-0. And then, obviously, the Mamelodi Sundowns machine keeps marching on. This time, TS Galaxy, as much as they made their coach ODG proud, weren't able to stop the runaway train, and it's now 7 points clear that they find themselves at the top of the table. We'll also reflect on Hugo Bruce being appointed as the Bafana captain. What next? There's some interesting talks that are going to be happening too with him soon. The scoop is coming up. I'll let you know about that one. But let me introduce you to the panel this evening. It's made up of Billy Limnyandu. I've got Timothy Batabayer and Kelvin Sosibo. Good evening, gents, and welcome.
Sir. How are you?
Are you all well?
Yeah,
all
good.
All good.
Good to be back here. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yes, you've been a busy man.
Yeah.
You've been a busy man. Yeah, no, for sure, guys. Remember, you can call us. Just remember with the calls. It's going to take some time for us to get to you if someone's finishing off a point. We're going to try and moderate the comments to between 1 and 2 minutes just for the flow and the function of the show. Yeah, you're also welcome to send us voice notes. Okay, so those are the T's and C's as we get into the show. So, gents, let's start at the beginning. Obviously, TTM winning the Nedbank Cup. Congratulations to them. Mr. Sillo's come through there and really shaken things up. I guess some of the cynics will say a club so disorganized and in such disarray, able to, beat out all the ones who had their ducks in a row to be the one that gets the big trophy at the end of the day. Is this part of the magic of the Guyana Cup? Usually it's David and Goliath. It's not disorganized and then organized.
Mm-hmm. I think if you look at the build-up, the run to the final, the road to the final for Badau Badamini, Chakuma Chamatzabandila, beat Swallows in the last 32. They beat Super Sport in the last 32. Then they beat Swallows in the last 16. They beat Leopards, and then they beat Sundowns. And you look on the other side, it's been cheated against teams from the Glade Foundation. To say that you give credit where it's due.
Sure.
It's a result that has done justice to the Nedbank Cup performance of Chakuma, in this competition. And I think I remember I was asked this question SABC Sport earlier this weekend, just before the final, and I said I don't have a choice. I have to go with Chipa United.
Yes.
I have to go with Chipa United.
Regional ties.
But yes, but deep down, I knew that pound for pound, Chakuma has got a better team.
Right.
And I think for me, if you look at the Chakuma team that played against Chiefs earlier in the week, and how, even before Chiefs got the red card, Chakuma, they were there. They were giving Chiefs problems. Right. So I was not entirely surprised.
Yeah.
And also, I remember talking to one of the players at Chakuma. He said to me, when you are paid, when you're paid, you don't have an excuse.
Sure.
Everything changes.
Sure.
And they've been a different Chakuma. In fact, even when they had issues, you could see the quality because I think now when they got Coach Dylan, you could see the difference, the structure in their play.
Yes.
Because people must not make a mistake. Even though it was Malika and Matebula was sitting on the bench, because there was no permit for Dylan Kerr, but he was preparing the team during the week. You understand? So look, I think it's a good story.
Yeah.
Because it was for the first time that two teams that are battling relegation get to contest the final. I remember way back, Wits University, they were still known as Wits University at the time. They got relegated. They lost in the Absa Cup,
right,
to Super Sport United.
Yes.
Were you there around that time? I think you were there.
When we went on to beat
Sports
United
for
no, for Bromford and Celtic.
Oh, yes.
It was in 2005 when we beat Supersport United in Potchefstroom.
In Potchefstroom, that
Yes.
was in the SAA Super 8.
Yes,
Rodson Kilambe scored the goal there.
the big gun man.
Yeah, we've been around.
You are definitely showing your age.
Yeah. We've been around. So,
No, it's
so I think for me, we deserved
Mhm.
result.
Yeah.
And I have to say that credit to the new owners.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
credit to the new owners.
Yeah.
But I like the statement that I was getting. So even at the post-match conference after the game from Chakuma players, where they say they also give credit to Mr. Mlaudzi, because they are saying without him, this wouldn't have been possible because he's the one who bought the team. But whatever happened. But also credit to the new owners on how they've handled things. And I say that they continue with that good trend.
Yeah.
Because they are saying
Money.
the prize money will be shared by the players.
Minus the costs, everything else will go to the players and the staff.
The technical stuff.
From the top to the bottom.
And also, in fact, the people in the office as well.
Cleaners,
You know,
all of the people.
Yeah,
It's quite a
it
remarkable
reminds
story.
me of what a friend who used to work at Chiefs used to say, that when it's bonuses,
Yes.
it doesn't just go to the players and the technical staff, but also the staff
Right.
around the team.
Everybody.
Shares.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, they're all involved in this.
Yeah, for sure. And in creating that good mood, I mean, such a different story from what we saw at the beginning of the season, Tim, but never mind the financial motivations, what the owners seem to get, the owners seem to put some money on the table and the players will come to the party. But there seems to be a professional pride from this bunch of players anyway, to kind of show that, listen, we're not the done and dusted players that everyone thought we were. And I think if they, pull off the rescue mission and see this through, then you have to say, what a season.
Look, it's a wonderful season for them as a team.
Even if they get relegated, or do you think the relegation?
No, they won't be relegated.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'll put my head on the block for that.
There we go.
Look, they have got quality players.
Yes.
That were playing individually. That was after the say. And remember, many of them were not sure whether they will continue from Vets to TTM.
Right.
And then they succeeded getting some of them to join the squad.
Yes.
And then on joining, they encountered those challenges. And it was not nice. Watching them play, you could think, these are good players, but not a team then. So along the way, the new management, came in handy.
Yeah.
And for me, that was key. That was the turning point for TTM.
Yes.
Once the new management came in, they went where it matters most. And where it matters most are the players. Listen to the concerns and needs of the players. Once you're able to manage the players, anything else can be secondary. And that's what happened. Once they got the players to believe that this can be turned around, paid their areas, and convinced them to play and protect their contracts, I think that was the turning point. But also bring in the likes of Matebola, Orica. These players were seen playing. They have pedigree. And then you bring Derek, who's got surplus to requirement.
Or 30 years old, or over 30.
Once sometimes they may tell you are getting clever, asking for better terms of payment.
Knowing how to read contracts.
Exactly, then you're gonna get in trouble. So the moment those players are given an opportunity to re-establish themselves, it has showed in the team. So you've got some senior citizens in this team. They know the game. They have played the game. So they want to prove a point. And that is always what you need from players, to play for their own pride, before the team, but their own pride.
Sure.
And exactly that's what they have done. When TTM beat Chiefs, that was in the league game, I think that was a turning point.
Yeah.
Because remember, you've got Arobi. Arobi is one of the best goalkeepers we had before, Then he couldn't get a team, taken into the Glad African Championship. He went down. And this is an opportunity to revamp himself. And he has taken it with both hands. Okay. And once you have got a very strong backline, you always have an opportunity to win. Winning the Nedbank Cup, it wasn't a surprise to me. Because if you get their circumstances, then my neighbor here, Chiva United circumstances,
Right.
TTM are better. Their circumstances
More
are better.
settled,
More settled
in a
than
sense.
Chipa United.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kevin, how important is it that this whole thing of kind of having relatable former players in like a coaching staff? You know, I mean, we see kind of their impact with Benny and Munib and, you know, Mbazo, not Mbazo, Pele Nombes.
Yeah, Munib Joseph also.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see that impact there. Tim just touched on having DVD and Pomaleka there for, you know, Dylan Kerr to be able to kind of help with disseminating the message. Have you worked for coaches where there was a local person in the technical team, or have you been in a situation where there wasn't and then you could tell the difference? Like, how important is it to the success on the pitch having someone the players can reference in the technical team who was just doing it at a high level recently?
I think I was fortunate enough at Chiefs to see Ace Kuse and Dr. Kumalo. I was under their wing when I was there, when I was promoted to the first team. So I think that plays a very important role. And for me, it really motivated me because I saw those players play.
Right.
They've done it. They've played at the highest level. So it's very important for DVD and Pomaleka to be around that system, also with Dylan Kerr. I think you have a variation of information that filters through because you have a midfielder that was superb for Chiefs, which is David Matebula, and then you also have Pomaleka was a great finisher. So now to see the team how it's been performing, you take those two combinations, you see them finishing, they scoring goals because Pomaleka that off reference. You also see David Matebula in terms of how they play in the middle. Like you'd see the player, this player called Ndlondo. I think for me he has risen. He's a shot on the field, but he's very, very, very dynamic. He makes the team play. He's very influential. So I having those players around there, for me, yeah, it's very, very important. And I've worked with, I think it was in Turkey, where I felt like the coach was just applying his tactics on the end of the day. So it wasn't more about where you're going to have a feel. When a player knows, there's a football language where we know that when you're not having a bad game, we know what you need to resort to. For somebody that have done it, it's easy for them to tell you to say, boy, I can tell you right now that you're not yourself today. What's wrong? So just stick to basics and then let's see the game through. But a coach will always be on your neck because he expects you to perform. So that's why sometimes you get that emotional intelligence that comes from players, player to player, and then sometimes you get it from a coach where it comes from a tactical point of view.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, on this player in Rondlo, you know, and it's one of the questions I also asked him this past weekend because, you know, I like players who've always been there but never really got the opportunity.
Yes.
Because Rondlo, exactly. Yeah. Rondlo comes from the under-20 team that had the likes of Revolt Kutsie. It had Ayabula Magwaka now, Kongobe. It had the Jody Februaries. It had a number of good players. Yes. Under Prashik Mashaba, you know. But unfortunately, there was a Pule Maresani as well. You know, sometimes, you know, when you come from the development, when you go up, you know, not all of you would go up. No. You know, but I remember also watching him again for TTM in some of the matches in the NFD. Especially I would go and watch him. I think 2 matches he played against Amatax. Yes. You know, and I know of some people who were trying to get him to the top level in terms of playing in the top division, right? And things didn't work out. But I think the story is coming out beautifully, you know, with TM now, and sometimes as much as the project of Mlaud didn't really take off in the way that we expected, but if it was not for him and this opportunity, and this is something that Ndlondo was saying, you know, to say. A part of him, he wants to give credit, you know, to Masala for this, you know. So,
I mean, is that the feeling amongst most of the players? I mean, it's a strange one. I mean, if you were in their shoes, I mean, do you understand what the players are coming from?
But what I'm trying
or is
to,
there frustration anywhere?
What I'm trying to show that just felt this way about TM. Yes. As the general public and as the media, it was interesting to get to hear a perspective of the player. Right. You know, on how they feel. Yes. about Masala. You understand?
No, for sure. The
Yes.
silver lining. I get it. Like
Exactly.
to look
That-
now
that-
and say,
yes.
if it wasn't for that,
Yeah.
We would have been playing professional football at the highest level.
Even the local community, you know, getting the team from Johannesburg, taking it over to Limpopo. I always tell people that by the time you get an opportunity to play, it has to be a disadvantage to another player. When a player is injured, when you get your breakthrough.
Yes.
So every somebody's misfortune can be your
Fortune,
fortune.
for
So
sure.
that's the nature of football. And then you try to come out of it. Football has got so many talented players that are not seen.
Right.
The only ones that we have seen are the ones that have been given an opportunity on the screen.
Right.
But if you attend training sessions of different teams, you'll be wondering why certain teams,
They're
what
not
certain
playing
players are not
certain
playing
players.
certain.
Yeah.
So that's the story of football. So that's why if players can only understand that you only have that opportunity in that particular game, I'm sure we would be having 100% performance week in, week out.
Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
great. Before we move on, I want to touch on Chipa and just maybe get your thoughts on where you guys thought it might have gone wrong for them at the weekend. I mean, you know, Heritage has had a positive or two result coming in, but it would seem to me it was a battle of who is the more settled of the unsettled sides, and that's why TTM won. So as far as Chipa's performance, how they set up on the day, Kevin, I can see a whole textbook here of writing, so we have to do this. Otherwise, so go for it. Spanilo boy, go for it.
Technocrats.
Yeah.
They must lead us.
Yes.
No, I think what went wrong with the cheaper, there was a lot of focus on the cup, which was not wrong, but I think the energy was mainly focused because if you could follow the coach always spoke about the cup and the cup and the cup and the cup. It was always about the cup and the cup. And when they got an opportunity to participate in the cup, yes, the cup lived to its name. It's a cup of dreams.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, their dreams were shattered on this one. So TTM ran away with it. When I saw the game, it wasn't the prettiest of the games, but it gave the team that was well prepared in the day, which was TTM. I think for them, the way that they started cheaper, the way they played, their passage of play, it wasn't the cleanest. I think the nerves were on their players because even their chairman has been dancing around thinking, okay, this is it, they're going to take it. Because seeing at TTM that is not having a fine run. Yes, they are having a good run in the league. So they are more or less above each other. So they are both disadvantaged. So when you look at it in this way, it was about who wanted it more on this day.
Right.
And I saw that the TTM that wanted it more in terms of tactics, how they apply themselves, how they stretch cheaper, and how they work in terms of in their defense. And again, I'll go back to the same player, which is Londo, who was very instrumental on them getting this result. So if they would have planned properly in closing spaces and not allowing time for time to TTM, because TTM likes to play with the ball around. We saw them frustrating Sundowns. They also play the similar football like Sundowns, how they play. They like to keep the ball, stretch the teams wide, get in the final thirds, also in the defensive and the structure. We keep our individual there. Some of them is not coming to the party, which was not great to see because I would have expected them more. You have players like Abo Opamanyisa, you have Anthony Lafaux, who are season campaigners who have participated in cups before. So they should have bring in the experience to the team to get them forward to get this cup. But at the end of the day, as I'm saying, TTM was the one that wanted it more than cheaper.
Okay, that may be the case. But let's see. I think we have a caller joining us. Who's on the line?
Hi, good evening, Kamza. It's Viso in Ramsey. How are you doing?
Hey, good news, Vizo.
Hi.
Good.
Nice to see Velile there in the studio as well. And we're missing Greek here today, but I'm enjoying the discussion so far.
Hey, I don't know. We have social distancing protocols that say only 4 people in front of the camera.
That's 100%. But let me just touch on the game. I must be honest, looking at how TTM played leading up to that game, and actually considering that they played on Tuesday as well, and I would have thought maybe they won't have enough legs to compete in this cup final. And looking at Chippa United, who had at least 7 days to prepare and really strategize for the game. I would have thought TTM for me is probably the end of the road. I mean, also looking at how they got into the final. I mean, beating SuperSport, Swallows, going through the Limpopo derby against Black Leopards, as well as the big one against Mamelodi Sundowns. I would have thought maybe they've really punched above their weight and then probably have come to the end of the road. But yeah, surprisingly for me, they won, and I want to say congratulations to TTM. Honestly, I mean, I'm particularly happy for a particular number of players, like Tabula Rahale, who's also a former Chipa United player, Tabo Mnyamane, Tim Mugero, who was also a Chief, I think, for like 2 months and was released in a very unceremonious ways. Alvin Degan is 35 years now, but he has been rock solid in this Nedbank Cup final. I think he played all the matches. And of course, you guys mentioned Ndabayete and Ronjo, who was like really a revelation for this Nedbank Cup. I mean, as short as he is, but I think this guy is really one of the problematic ones on the field. And I'm really happy for TTM. I think at the end of the day, it showed that they really wanted it more. You can look at in terms of number of shots on target. You can look at number of corners that they get, the way they defended. I think for me, they really showed character. They defended very well. I mean, getting a goal that early, I think it really worked very well for them. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't say congratulations. And I think the big one for me, it's not only the fact that they've won the Nedbank Cup, but also the fact that now they have an opportunity to participate in the continental football in CAF Confederations Cup. So I think big things are coming, and congratulations to Coach Dylan Kerr. And hopefully with the remaining matches in the DSTV Premiership, they'll be able to overcome SuperSport, Marine State United, Pirates, Baroka, and Chipa. I think the job is not done, but I think this is a good confidence to move from the relegation spot into the DSTV Premiership. But well done, guys. Enjoying the discussion so far.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your thoughts.
And,
yeah, no, for sure. We'll do. Thanks, man. Sweet. So, yeah, going in there. But that's a real thing, though. I mean, there is word that Babsilo wants to change the name and change the brand. And is that still on the table? Or now that you've got history attached to it, do you stop those plans?
Yeah, no, I think they're going ahead with it. And I think I like the route that they are taking because it is more of a consultative process. Where they're involving the community in terms of the suggestions and all those things. So they are creating some marketing hype.
And a buy-in from the people.
Exactly. And I think there is no other way now to have that hype than, remember, this is only the second team in the history of football in Limpopo at elite level to win a trophy. Baroka with the Telkom knockout, beating Paris in Ekabecha. And then now with the TTM, there are teams like Polokwane City that have been there. There are teams like you can mention them, Black Leopards. They've never. They've been to the final, but they've never. I remember Leopards lost to Paris in 2011 in the Nedbank Cup final. So I think this is something, but I think for me it's going to be very interesting because I think the 30th of June is the deadline for the PSL to submit, in fact for SAFA to submit the names of the teams that will be playing in next season's CAF interclub competitions. So I'm not sure if by then they would have changed the name, because I think maybe they just want to make sure that they finish the season. Because you still never know. They're still not out of the woods yet.
Exactly.
So they could end up maybe in a playoff position, even though I do feel that they've got their own fate in their own hands.
No, for sure. It would suggest.
Especially with this coming weekend, they're playing. They've got 2 6-pointers for me that I'm looking at. They are hosting Maritzburg United this coming weekend, and they still have Chipa United. So those 2 games are vital for them.
For sure.
6-pointers. If they win both matches, it means that they are putting the other team in a dangerous situation.
For sure.
So it's going to be very interesting. So I think if they can change the name, yes, they can change the name. But when do they get to do that?
No, for sure.
My advice would be they must do that before the 30th, because you don't want to be registered at CAF as TTM and then you change the name.
Exactly. Okay, there we go. Now, what was interesting is looking at this final, The coach is talking about the rest time, some too much rest time maybe for Chipa. And I'm going to use this as a way to kind of segue into the TS Galaxy and Sundowns game, because that's same thing that Owen Degama was saying, that, yeah, it's cool to have all this time for tactics and for people to come back from injury, but not having that regular game time is actually, and he says, I can't get a friendly, everyone's busy, all the lower division teams are playing, all the guys in my division can't play because they're protecting themselves for match day.
Yeah.
So he actually worked against him in this instance, whereas a busy Sundowns, because of the irregularity, the games that are giving Ukift, Peter more and more time to gel, those are happening. So we actually found that in this instance, that they were battle ready and battle hardened, for this game, Mamelodi Sundowns, in a sense.
It's good to have the break when you have your key players injured. It's bad to have the break if now you're not going to get games, because now you fall into the rustiness, the game tempo changes, also the mind shift, also the mental side of the players, because now when you have a longer rest, your fitness goes down.
Right.
So now you need to have a match fitness. Yes, I know those players are fit, but now there's a match fitness. So now when that goes out of the window, it's good for other teams when they are having players, infringed players that are injured, to get them to prepare them and get ready for the next match. But if you if you stay longer out, then you're gonna have problem when you have to come to the game. It showed with the TX Galaxy when they played Sundowns. Yes, Sundowns was more of a team that has played more games back to back. They didn't have much time to rest. But again, TX Galaxy had more time to rest, which is they tried to frustrate Sundowns by sitting back. They didn't want to go up because they wanted to see what would be the reply to Sundowns. What would Sundowns do? But Sundowns struggled to the most of the part of the game. And then eventually what happened was they tried, TX Galaxy got frustrated, and then they started pushing up. When the introduction of Shaolide, when he came in, the number 9 that they've put is what they wanted, because they wanted space behind Sundown. They wanted space behind TX Galaxy.
Right.
That's how they profited from the goal. So when a team gets pushed up forward, yes, you're going to have more energy, and the other team, you're going to rely that they have matches back to back. But again, don't forget, Sundowns has got a lot of ammunition in them. They've got a lot of players that they can throw in. This is an opportunity for those players to come in. When a player is injured, another one comes in. Players injured, another one comes in. Now we're starting to see players on the window, in the shopping window, to say, hey, I want to start next week. Coach, pick me. I want to start next week. Rather than now you're going to be on the layoff, there's another player. There's that continuation now with Sundowns.
Okay, so it's running like a well-oiled machine in your mind.
Yeah.
As far as what they have.
Look, in coaching, there's what we call periodization.
Yes.
You're going to have those breaks. It's how you manage your players. It's very crucial. Sometimes you'll find some coaches, when there's a break, they increase the intensity of training, and then they tell their players more. On training, they're having more 11 versus 11, instead of having, a few games just to keep them, active and ready. And also, it demands that you as a coach, you should understand your individual players. There are players, when they're given an off, they'll rest their body, so that when it's time for training or competitiveness, they are ready. Then there are those who are a little bit, playful with their rest time. They'll do funny things that affect their fitness. So how you as a coach, you understand each and every individual is different, because you give an off to the whole squad. Many may not rest, many may rest.
Right.
So if a player is fully rested, like Sosibo will not go anywhere, it would be very disciplined. So his fitness will still be the same.
Right.
And then other players are taking one for the road, one glass of beer, and then like that, and then their levels are down. But you should be able to understand your own players. Once you do that, this will not be an issue, because a competitive team has an advantage even when they're playing week in, week out. It's not about resting or playing more games. If Sundowns is playing, actually they have an advantage, because they're in motion.
Yes.
So they're just going to manage them. Come training session, just have gym regeneration, play tennis, play basketball.
Yeah.
Some of these other coaches will not guarantee that. They'll make these players run
and just run and just run.
To be working on their bodies.
I know you got a quick dash, but sometimes these technocrats will use big words, periodization. And this is good, good words. But just a simple one. When it talks periodization, Sereno had been out for the last 3 matches, recovering from an injury.
Right.
But they know that they're going to a tougher game against Al Ahly in the CAF Champions League.
Right.
You know, so what do? They bring in Sereno for the last 16 minutes.
Of each game.
Give them stronger legs so that when they get to Al Ahly, they can even manage to have him in the starting lineup.
For sure.
For
That
the
is
first 45,
So they save him for the bigger journey,
but
jobs ahead.
save him,
Preparing
but
him
also
at the same
give him
Yeah.
yes.
Just give him a feel.
Exactly.
Coming
He mustn't
from-
lose his
it's-
touch
because
and his feel.
people don't understand. If somebody is coming from a broken foot, it means that he needs that period to get in touch with the game.
Yes.
So it's not only the broken foot; it's the mental strength. The mind has to get healed first.
Right.
If the mind is healed,
Yes.
even when there is still some pain in the leg,
Yes.
the player may play on the field of play and the result will be positive.
Okay.
So there are two things that a player handles when he's injured. It's the mental
And it's the physical.
injury
Yeah.
and then the real physical injury.
Got it. Okay, we have a caller on the line joining us. Who are we speaking to?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Pro.
Hi, Pro. Where are you
Hi.
calling us
Sure,
from, brother?
bro.
I'm calling from Durban.
Okay, no, sure. Go ahead.
Looking forward to the CAF Champions League fixtures coming up. But I don't want to comment about CAF Champions League. I want to comment about the resurgence of Amazulu.
Okay.
Looking at the new king that has taken over the Zulu nation, I know that Coach Benny and his troops would like to welcome the king properly. And who knows, they might finish second and compete in the CAF Champions League next season, and then join Mamelodi Sundowns, of course.
No, for sure. That would be a good return from this from the season. But then what do you think is the mandate for Coach Benny next season? Just a piece of silverware, or do you want to go for the big one? What's your ambition for the club come this season if Benny does get second place?
Look, it's going to be difficult for him because he's going to be entering a new level where you'll be competing both on the continent and in the domestic league.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting him to do as well as he did this season.
Huh, interesting.
I want to believe that he's going to finish in the top 8, but I don't think he's going to maintain the form like he's been doing this season, unfortunately.
You don't think that maybe with a couple of new faces, proper preseason, he can maintain and build on this level? You think it'll actually go down? That's interesting.
He still needs to prove himself. I don't think that he's a marathon coach. I think he's a short sprint coach. Next season, you will need to prove himself as a marathon coach.
So
he's
okay,
got a lot to
Mfuto wa
prove.
manje, are you saying is Mfuto we sprint at the moment?
I beg your pardon?
Uthi Mfuto we ino manje at Amazulu?
No, I don't think Uguti is going to go a long way at Amazulu.
Interesting.
That is why I'm saying he's a short sprint type of coach. But I know that he's going to do well enough to finish in the top 8. But I don't think Uguti he is going to maintain the same form that he has this season.
Okay. So bona khona ke.
Hey, Pro.
That's an interesting one,
Ulala,
bro.
bro.
No,
Let's
but-
Can we
ulala.
catalog?
No.
You're making a note of Pro.
No,
I want.
but let me tell you, there's something interesting about Benny as a coach. Benny strikes me as the kind of coach Meti. Then you have got Cabo Zondo. Now, I was privileged to be coached by Cabo Zondo. You have got a very stubborn attitude coach, and that's what you're having in Benny.
Right.
And even Meti, the current coach of Sundowns.
Yes.
They are sure of what they are doing.
Right.
So whatever anybody else wants to say, they're not bothered. They'll keep on the process. Now, Benny, even when he loves the job, is not after the paycheck, first and foremost. Benny is a kind of coach that is after his pedigree, his name. He has got that individual pride of success. That will continue with him.
Right.
Benny is willing to say, no, I don't agree with you. You'll be on the bench because you're not giving me what you're having.
Yeah.
If Ben is given the resources that is promised
Right.
and they can strengthen the squad,
Right.
he will have a pool of players to choose from to compete on 2 fronts.
Yes.
Benny will still be very competitive next season.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask then. Do you guys, what do you think of that? Do you
I
think he's
for
going to be
me,
stronger
it's,
next?
it's very interesting what Pro is saying.
Uh.
It's very interesting. Not that I agree with it entirely, but I think what is interesting for me and the coaches and the two ex-players from next on my left, they will agree with what I'm going to say, that the imprint of a coach, you see it from his pre-season. Now you will get to see the feel of Benny in this Amazulu team. He will also have the signings. You know. So, but most importantly, and this is why it was thought that Benny and his management team were jumping at the opportunity of getting into the Bafana. Pity, from what we are getting to understand, they also got to mess it up themselves, you know, through their demands. It's a story that will be narrated in the next few weeks to come.
Can't wait.
Yes, but because Benny has got that international profile, and he's never hidden the fact that he wants to return to Europe and coach at that level.
Yes.
So coaching at international level gets him back quicker.
Right. On that stage.
On that stage.
Right.
And now he gets that opportunity. You play 2 matches. You just play 2 matches. You're in the group stages. Group stages, most of the time, allows you to be watched in Europe, allows you to be watched in Asia, in North America, in South America, in the Australasia, all over the world.
Yes.
And now this would be a Benny McCarthy who's won the CAF, in fact, the UEFA Champions League, now coaching in the CAF Champions League. That's why when we spoke to him back then, when he was at Orlando Pirates, he was so looking forward to playing in the CAF Champions League and doing well. Pity Orlando Pirates at the time was not doing well in the CAF Champions League, because they arrived after the exploits of 2013. And they were getting knocked out easily. So they couldn't progress further to the group stages. You understand what I mean? So this is a true test for Benny. For me, even more than Bafana, because Bafana maybe plays once and 6 months.
Exactly. And there's a
But
lot where you can say
this time there's an
the
opportunity
coach.
for him to be on a continental, top level in continental football, almost every fortnight. You know, so it's going to be very interesting. And I know that he's coached in the CAF Confed with the Cape Town City, but maybe he was coaching a team that is not really that ambitious at that level, because Cape Town City, if you checked, I saw with one thing, even the composition of the team, they would take inexperienced players, they would leave their stronger players behind, and then you could see that he won't achieve it here. So with Amazulu, it's going to be a true test. So let's wait and see.
Okay, wait and see approach, and I think he will be afforded that. We have another caller on the line who's joining us. Good evening.
Hello, guys.
Doing okay? Okay, team. No, but don't ring me out.
Now you go for like a game here. We say about Naval Limpopo, but team we go no na Nedbank Cup. Yeah, the first time I get to Nagamwa, I get Ratoshalina. Sabovedi. I want to talk about the game between Picho and Sundowns. And the pressure.
No, for sure.
Come Saturday, we'll end with tears for Picho. But me, I'm a Pirates fan. I'm not a Sundowns fan.
Are you a Pirates fan? So Pirates are on.
On Saturday, we'll end with tears and on Saturday. Picho is going to cry. The boys for Mamelodi, they're going to beat Picho Mushimane. That's why I know Sundowns is on fire. You can see the team, they play well. Salulile scoring goals is good for Sundowns. Yeah, but on Saturday, we're going to see the beautiful game. The promise that we can't see on the TV, but we'll see on the Facebook. I like your show. I see your show every day.
I know.
Second capital Pulukwani.
For sure.
Limpopo ka football mokhalabe ya hola itlova e kholo itloba le team ke dingata tse o feta team tsa mo premier spirit.
No, I golege danke ndad.
Thank you, Dad.
Ubeshap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ramkushisha.
Ramkushisha.
Yeah, Ramkushisha.
There we go. Just yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes we take it for granted just how much these things mean for certain regions and for people from those regions who for a long time go unseen because the focus is on, you know, the Joburg and PTA teams and maybe now the KZN ones. But, you know, it's nice to have this thing where you're forced to pay attention to another team for no other reasons. First, it was the bad reasons beginning of the season. Now it's for the business that they handle on the pitch.
Look, it was Limpopo versus Eastern Cape in the final, played in the Free State. I mean, it's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
There's no KZN, Gauteng team involved or Western Cape team involved because when you talk about the urban areas and centers of African football, in fact, South African football, you talk about Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape. More so because of also the commercial side of the game. If you look at these provinces that I'm mentioning. When you have Limpopo, Eastern Cape in the final, played in the Free State, it says something about and also for the game as well. But we don't. That's why it's not a good sight to see those teams. If you look at the bottom three now, coming from because
if one region can be wiped out.
For instance, if Chippa gets out, there's no team in the Eastern Cape. You know what I mean? So that's not a good thing. You know, so that's the point. But I think another point that is making of a pizzo, you know.
Well, yes. I mean, this is a big one. I mean, the league is moving stuff around for CAF Champions League teams, you know. So let's dig into that because that's quite a subplot there.
Look, and that's why I want to knock off early today because there's a big game in Cairo. There's a big game in Cairo this evening. It's a Patrice Cateron versus Pitso Mosimane part 2 this season. He's already won part 1, Pitso, a few weeks ago. And it was good to see. I watched Sundown. In fact, Al Ali's game against Al Ittihad. And it was good to see them returning to winning ways. Al Ali, they've not had it easy in recent weeks, and I think for me the score 2-1 is not really a true reflection of the game. They should have finished that game with a clean sheet. They applied themselves much better compared to previous matches because Pitso has been struggling through injuries. Especially to some key players, and also another problem, you know, once a team has achieved this much, if you look at the time when he arrived,
motivation becomes difficult.
Motivation
becomes very difficult.
It is. You know. So I'm really, but this week. Outside this Cairo derby, obviously I want to see Pitso doing well. But I'm sorry, this week I go with the South African team.
No, for sure.
Of course, I go with the South African team for one simple reason. I don't think there's been a better season for Sundowns to emulate their performance of 2016 in the CAF Champions League than this season.
Now.
You know, I just feel that the way they breezed through in the group stages, it's for me almost going unbeaten in the group stages until they lost to CRB when they used the second string team in the last game. There's something in me that tells me this is Sundowns' title to lose.
For sure.
But they're up against a Pitso Mosimane.
No, for sure.
You know,
but this is great. This is a beautiful story. When I don't think anyone foresaw the teacher up against his students, you know, in this kind of encounter.
Mind you, he's signed almost all the players because he was part of the collective in the current squad that he has. You know, but equally, he's created a monster even with that technical team. You know,
exactly.
So they know him as well.
It's Dr. Frankenstein,
but he also knows them.
Yes,
I was talking to a friend in Cairo who says, you know what? There's one thing. Yes, our team is struggling in Cairo, but there's one thing we know: that Pitso always come through when it's big games.
When it's big games, one delivers.
One thing I'm confident. We can talk about the tactical prowess of all the coaches. But there's something that's going to be very mental, and the game is going to be won psychologically.
Right.
And you're having a full squad of Sundowns.
Yes.
That has been mentored by Pete Somsmani. And then you've got this team of Al Hatley that has been solid together, that Pete So has just joined.
Sure.
Now, the psychological impact of Pete Somsmani being on the opposite side versus the players that he mentored and groomed and shared that success in that dressing room may be the demerit to Sundowns. Right from the technical team, you're gonna have all these tweets coming from Mr. Lulani and everything like that. That's gonna be very crucial at this moment in time. I believe in the team of Al Hatley is gonna test the defensive approach of Sundown. And that is key. Once a team is attacking Sundowns, it means they reduce their ability to attack.
Right.
So how they are going to reciprocate on that is very interesting, because Al Hatley can always manufacture those passes to score the goals. Will Sundowns on the back foot transform that defending into that quick attack to find the goals? That would be the interesting part of it.
Interesting question. Hold on, we gotta go to the calls. What about Spanisa Etime? Good evening.
Good evening, Governor. How are you?
I'm good, and you, sir?
I'm all good, man. Talking to Ntaganipa from Joburg.
Ntaganipa from Joburg. What's on your mind, my brother?
Few things actually on my mind. Good evening to the gentlemen there. I don't know, man. For me, it's gonna make work because a part of me wants to, ride up behind my team, Kaizer Chiefs, in the CAF Champions League. But I'm getting the internal troubles we have, the planned protest, the morale, the morale in the camp, And I mean, well, on paper, obviously, when I'm looking at the paper, we have no chance going through. But at heart, man, I want my team to go through. But looking at how we play, there's luck here and there. You need luck in football, man.
For
there's
sure.
Luck here and there. I don't know.
So tell me something. I mean, as far as the protest is concerned, are you behind it? Do you believe it should be happening?
I actually tried to call when you guys were talking about this. When I think there was only two gentlemen in the Great Itafia. And
yes, it was on Saturday night. Yes.
Yeah. They were talking about the whole protest. So for me, I don't know, man. So the current Chiefs problems are a knock-on effect from years back. They didn't start this year or last year.
Sure.
There are knock-on effects from years back, and they start from the management down to the team.
Right.
So they've been manifesting for years and years, and now they're just crumbling down.
Right.
So what we have is this big, huge institution which is good on the financial and the marketing.
On the marketing, it's a good machine as corporate.
It's a well-oiled machine, But then again, now when it comes to on the football list, I understand that it's a cycle. Teams go through this patch, but if you look at what Chiefs going through right now, it would be something which you can pinpoint to mismanagement of certain things, how a team is run. You can't say teams go, because it's much like what Liverpool is going through. You can okay, I can give Klopp some leeway. He's got to leave in the Champions League. I can give him leeway.
Sure. So you're saying that Gavin hasn't earned that yet?
But again, with Gavin, he has a huge shield of these are not my players.
What's Gavin doing at your house? Gavin, is that you? But don't you think that's fair? I mean, obviously people will talk and will say, okay, cool, he knew what he was getting himself into. We've spoken about it now, how Benny might be an even better coach with the players that he gets. Do you not think that Gavin deserves the same opportunity?
To be honest with you, everything needs context, right? So unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation where if you are going to coach, I'm a coach. Unfortunately, we know the so-called pressure, and I say this in inverted commas, the pressure that comes with coaching KG. So what you are afforded in a team like Amazulu, you won't be afforded in a team like KG, which is patience. With Amazulu, you can get away with maybe let's say being on number 10. Just giving a random example, no disrespect to Amazulu, but with Kaizer Chiefs, if you are number 10. Because of the precedent that has been set for the so-called big team in inverted commas, you are we are not allowed there, unfortunately. It doesn't matter how much of a great coach you are, you know.
Fair enough, but I think there are mitigating circumstances at this point in time. But I don't know. I don't know if a protest ahead of a big game is wise. I don't know. What does the panel think?
Well, look, when fans protested, but it was around the issue of the Super League in Europe, of Chelsea, and then I saw Man United fans protesting. And now you must understand that we're an Anglophone country. You know, we get influenced by things. If you check, even with our league, almost the whole idea of the rebranding of the PSL in '96,
Right,
stems from
the EPL.
the EPL.
Right.
You understand? I could see this coming, and I was like, I remember saying this to a friend. I was like, "Yo, the way they are doing there,
Yeah.
watch one team." And I think it's Chiefs fans who can adopt this. Because,
Wow.
like Etlala was saying, you know, this thing had been boiling for some time, you know, and this is a boiling point now with Chiefs fans.
Right.
And I think part of it was also influenced by what was happening, you know, because they could see, and that's why you could see how organized even in the manner in which they're organizing this. The fact that even on Wednesday they are meeting the club. The club, in fact, even as soon as they got this through the JMPD, the club accepted it.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
because for me, I think that there is no other club in the PSL that has always been. He has been there. That has always been taking their fans first in terms of listening to them.
Right.
That's why even though they're making it a regular habit of it now, when they underperform, they write statements, they apologize.
Right, like their fans are almost like shareholders. It's like,
you know,
they treat them as such. Yeah,
you know, because Chiefs has always had this with the fans, you know, but this time, and also, you know, I was watching Pirates last week, and for some spell, I think about 5 minutes, the brand of football they're playing, and you watch Sundowns and like, hey, when last did you see Chiefs playing free-flowing football like this? You know?
Yeah.
It's always doof, 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 doof. You know? Even the last time they won 2 league guys, doof, 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 doof. You know? And if you go back to the Kaizer Chiefs, but if you go there to the Kaizer Chiefs,
you know your cattle by any chance. By any chance, you know your cattle, because that's how the cattle moves in the crowd.
You know, if you go back to the Kaizer Chiefs of Ted Dimitri, maybe also the Chiefs of VV, you know, the brand of football that they were playing at the time.
Total football.
Total football.
Right.
You know,
right.
But Chiefs fans have had to stomach this for a very long time. You know, I've got a piece tomorrow on Itiski Times. And I think it talks exactly to what the fans are talking about this week.
Right.
But my piece focuses on the 5 coaching changes at Kaizer Chiefs in a space of 3 years.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And how the management and the board at Chiefs are entirely to blame for the mess that the club is finding itself in.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I think it ties in with everything that's happening now. Because I think it's all there for everyone to see that Gavin is a goner at Chiefs, you know, and this is the second coach at Kaizer Chiefs in a space of these 3 years that would have not had a proper preseason with the club. You know, it would also mean that 4 of the past 5 coaches at Chiefs have not finished their contracts. It's unheard of at Kaizer Chiefs.
So are you saying that his position is untenable?
Gavin. I think it's there for everyone to see. I think it's there for everyone to see. But my article tomorrow sheds more light on that.
Okay, no, for sure, no, for sure.
Looking forward to that.
I mean, let's just wrap up on Sundowns quickly, because 7 points restored at the top, Tim. You know, back in the ascendancy, it was literally at the reinsertion of Peter Shalulila back into things. You got Kermit Erasmus knocking on the door for the front line. I mean, you know, they're pretty much on the home straight now.
Look, they have healthy competition in the squad. If you look at the players that came in, Kennedy saved a penalty. You have got Mudao, Promise, Maboni. These are players that are being given an opportunity, and they are reciprocating. They are giving the technical team very difficult, you know, decisions to make. So they're gonna
good decisions
at that moment in time. the coach spoke about the process, not entirely the result. They are talking about the process. So there's a standard they have set for themselves. There is a way they want to play the game. There is a way they want to get the 3 points. It's not a matter of getting the 3 points. They have passed that level. Sundowns is at a level of how they get the 3 points at this moment in time.
Right.
Now that has gone well into the squad. The players want to play better. Even after a game, they have won the game. You could see some, their emotional, their physical discussions among themselves. They are quite questioning. They should have done better.
Right.
Now that's a team that has been together, and there's a way they want to grow. And I think they're now thinking of setting records. And now, if you look at Sundowns playing now, I see a team preparing for the game against Hartley. So they are using these league games as preparation for the main game.
Right.
You can see it through.
Yeah.
Now, you have spoken about Peter. Peter is this a striker who is willing to create chances for other strikers or other players will always score goals. Because he gets out of those positions that the defender think he should be in to create spaces for others. When he returns a free player, unmarked. And that is Peter. Now you've got the likes of Matupa who is coming in. He's a giant. So you've got two big boys that you have to deal with. One is willing to run off the shoulder of the defenders. One is holding on the ball. They're going to be difficult. Then you have got the likes of Sorino. The more he gets 1-2 touches, it means he sucks in the defenders. And then when he loses the balls, there's a huge gap for the defenders to mark. So backlines are going to struggle how to defend against Sundowns. Now teams have to define means of how they can attack Sundowns. The more you give them the ball, the more they're going to make you tired. Against Sundowns, be prepared to mark. Be prepared to mark. Prepare for it. If you pass that test, you're going to hurt Sundowns.
Yeah. Also, I think on my point, I see a Sundowns that wants to stamp their authority on the league. They are keen to winning everything that is on the table. I think they're going for the 4th win now. Their table, they're going to defend it for the 4th time, right? So in that, I see a Sundowns that is well motivated, a team that has chemistry, a team that had the fighting spirit that you saw against TX Galaxy, and we cannot falter them as they prepare for Al Ahly. It's going to be one of a massive game. It's going to be counter press after counter press after counter press, and the only best thing that I know that Sundowns is going to bring to the table is that the way they're going to be playing in between the lines. Be playing between the lines, meaning when you found your Shaolili, your Sorinos dropping into the middle, trying to receive the ball for the turnovers. Yes, we know Al Ahly is the one that's going to apply high pressure because they want to apply the counter press. By doing so, they need to be aware in the speed that Sundowns have. And also the same, if Sundowns is going to sit deep, Al Ahly has got the answer to open that back line. By how? They're going to use the width play. They want to try play combination passes and overload on the side. Yes, Pito is a believer of a structure in the middle. He will reinforce the middle and make sure that they don't play the passage of football in the middle. So now what does it say? Morena is the one that's going to be influential in Maboy. Looking at him, Kulisi trying to be on the battle with those players in the middle, it's going to be very important for them to preserve the ball and try to always unlock the sides. If one side is blocked, move to the next zone. If the other side is blocked, go to the next zone. Then that's how you're going to find your Shaoliles to come into the party. Because I'm sure right now, Pito has an answer for Shaolile, how he's going to mark him, because it's the player that he wanted in his team.
Now do the same for Chiefs.
I think it's going to be a tactical masterclass.
Yes, for sure.
That game. I think it's going to be a tactical masterclass, but I don't want to dwell much on it. Because your question, you were asking on the run-in.
Yes.
On Sundowns wrapping up.
Yes, in terms of the momentum, the gap they've grown, only 4 rounds to go. It looks like, as far as what Tim was saying, they've got the machinery to see this one through and then focus on.
Yeah, I think for me, and this is a question that we asked Coach Roland recently in one of the pressers, to say, is he not concerned that the slump that they had came at a time when there was a break in the Champions League? So the ideal way was to wrap up the season. Still the break. So when you come back, you are through. And also because, but also the other question was, maybe are you comfortable because you just have to go through the groups, in fact, the quarterfinal, and the semi-final is only coming back in June, when the season is over.
Exactly.
You know,
I
think for me, what should be a serious concern to other clubs is to see Sundowns. I know how they like to call it on the timeline, turning this into a farmers' league. You know, turning this into a farmers' league like it does, because now we know of a Sundowns that would chase, because they are busy on the continent, that would chase a Chiefs or a Pirates or even a Bidvest.
Yes.
You know, but this is a Sundowns that has been on the same spot from the beginning of the season. Vroom, you know, with all the challenges that they've had, but there's still no one matching their standards. And I know that people will talk about Sundowns having this best squad, but this is where we must appreciate the best processes.
Yes.
You know,
because you need that with the good players, you need the good processes.
Yes,
to
the best
complement each other.
processes that Sundowns has got on the footballing side. I know that Sundowns is not 100% administratively one of the greatest in the league, but when it comes to technical matters, you know, they've got all these best processes, which for me, this is where they are also beating the other teams. He talks about periodization. He talks about all these processes, scouting, you know, how they use their players, you know. So these things, you don't leave them behind.
Sure.
You know, you don't leave them behind. You know, I was interviewing Lebogang Mabue this past weekend. He talks about when it comes to physios, when it comes to analysts, biokinesists, all these things, he counts 2, 3, 4. You know, there's clubs that don't even have one of those.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
Abenze ngayeza ngesixhosa. You know, this is not a magic. Ayingomlingo. You know what I mean?
And the fact that
you have to put in the work.
And you know, the fact that all players can discuss the process they go through to deliver the results.
Exactly.
That shows that it's not about the players themselves, their skill. They know that their skill, yes, contributes to success, but it's not everything.
Right.
And that cultivates that seriousness, always to be focused and be respectful of your teammate and the rest of the staff on the team.
There we go, because it's such a big operation on go. We've got one on the line joining us. Who we're speaking to?
Hi, good guys. It's Raymond.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thank you. I love the show, but I miss Greg a lot. On Saturday, I missed Kelvin, but then it looks like all of you guys are agreeing with each other, which means Greg is missing. Because no, Greg would have just argued with you guys.
He would have been the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't he? He was.
Yeah, you know, on the Al-Ahly announcement, I feel like it's a must-win for Peter, because in a way, something tells me that if he loses, if he should be knocked off the competition, I feel like they're going to fire him, because in a way, I feel like besides Al-Ahly challenging for the league, but during these years, the reason why Al-Ahly exists, it's because of the CAF Champions League. You see, I feel like without the CAF Champions League, Al-Ahly are nothing, Zamalek are nothing as well. You see, the same goes with things like Esperance. Without the CAF Champions League, you know, basically they're nothing. You see, never mind challenging for domestic honors. But CAF Champions League, it's the most important thing. So I feel like if in this case, if Peter lose to Sundowns in a way, I feel like they're going to second money or that, because where you also look at another thing also, the club legends of Al-Ahly, they always seem to disagree or clash with Peter, even if Peter is doing well, but they always tend to disagree on what Peter is doing. They don't like his team selection. They don't like how he plays. You know, Peter is always criticized, even though I can see that the squad is a bit depleted. Peter's squad is dealing with a lot of injuries. Does not have his key players. You see. So that's why I feel like in this case, it's do or die for Peter. He has to win.
Okay.
You see, and given the fact that he knows actually how Sundowns plays, because in a way, he is more like the Johan Cruyff of Sundowns, where he was the author of the current philosophy that Sundowns is. Even though Mangoba Mleti and Ryan Mukwena played a significant role in making the philosophy box, where they now apply more of the counter pressing bounce back. I feel like since people like the Johan Cruyff in a way, even Al-Ahly, they've got players, they're also starting to play, like that kind of philosophy. So I think in a way, you don't know how to counter Sundowns.
Right, of course.
And then also on the issue of Kaizer Chiefs, I don't know. I'm a Chiefs supporter. I'm a diehard Chiefs supporter. But hey,
have some faith. Have some
at
faith.
the same time, I think we all wanted to face them because if we faced either Esperance or Sundowns, then obviously we're going to be out. But Simba, I think we can beat Simba.
Yeah. I have a problem with that. I have a problem.
With what?
I have a problem. Simba beat Al-Ahly. And they topped their group. and for me, they've been one of the most informed teams in the CAF Champions League this season.
So knowing that, you still believe Chiefs
and they're not a bad team on the road.
No, for
either.
sure. For sure.
Yeah. No, let me tell you, Simba is.
Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm just struggling to bear with me if I just put process.
Sorry,
I don't know, maybe it's my phone or something. But that's all I'm saying. I just hope as well the Chiefs. I feel like they will be able to beat Simba. It shouldn't be much of a train smash. In a way, I think Simba are beatable. You see.
No, okay.
Just that the issue now. What I've noticed was Kaizer Chiefs. As much as Chiefs is losing a lot of games. But
cool.
then.
Thank you, brother. We're gonna another caller, Raymond. Tim, I'll let you have the word. Yeah, Raymond is on the line. Thank you for holding, brother. Raymond, what's on your mind?
Raymond.
Yes. Oh, thank you. The one who was on. You said on the line next. Hello? Hi, have we got someone there?
I feel that African football, and I'm taking this from even the reactions to the appointment of Bruce. We need to educate our people.
Right.
They must watch. It's not just about the names, and Simba have been one of the most informed teams. In this season's. In fact, together with Sundowns for me.
Not only this season.
Exactly. You understand?
Been doing it.
So I'm really laughing at but I also don't feel that it's just the issue of Nyanza. Our people don't follow African football.
Sure.
The
due diligence of watching these teams perform.
Yes. So now I feel that ngati siyamba ngamagama. No, it's Al-Ahly, no, it's Esperance. Because Simba.
And I called it for a win.
And you will see Simba, they'll come here and play good football.
You're talking about Simba. It's a team that has grown in stature. This is a team that has beat Al-Ahly, the defending champions. They played in the club, FIFA Club Championship. They have got pedigree. They have got good players.
Yeah.
Now, the only way Kaizer Chiefs is going to compete with Simba is when they bring their attitude to be positive.
Simple.
Let's not talk about football and everything like that. We're going to have the character of the Kaizer Chiefs team that can
winning
try to outride Simba.
Yes.
If they are matched by effort, I would say forget. But if Chiefs brings their effort
more than
100%, they stand a chance because you have got players that can try. Southern region has got players that are fast and nippy, on the field of play. They are not easily marked. Now, if a team is transformed to use that advantage, Pitso used that against Sundowns. They are using that. The pace, the nippiness. Southern region is different. Now, when you go to the rest, for example, you go to East Africa, we are big able guys and everything like that.
Yeah.
Effort is, we don't debate with effort and everything like that. We play like that. So if you're able to turn us and make the run, you get an advantage. Should Chiefs bring that against Simba, they stand a chance. But if there is that entitlement mentality that we are Chiefs, you will be shocked. You will be shocked.
Yeah, and the stronger point of Simba is that their players have been together for some time now.
You can't buy that.
No, exactly.
That cohesion.
Exactly. And for me, I went to watch the derby. Pity this past weekend, the Kariako derby didn't happen. But one thing I could see, Simba was better than Yanga in the application of their tactics on the field.
Right.
Because you could see the understanding of these guys.
Right.
And I remember even when they went to Al Ali now,
Yeah.
You couldn't tell that Simba was the away team. The way they were so free. And we must also understand that now to play at home and away is different because there are no crowds.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's why it becomes easier to also beat a team on the road.
And South Africa, I can assure, is not away.
Exactly.
When it comes to the fields, the hotels, garden court, and everything
on holiday, bro.
The turf.
It's gonna be home.
The pitch at FNB
yes
is the kind of a pitch that Simba players are relishing to play.
For sure, just because it's going to allow them to play their kind of football. Okay, before we wrap things up, because Stavej, I'm with you. I'm going to go try and find the stream for this game. Where I want to watch it. But let's talk about Hugo Bruce quickly, and then we'll just round off in terms of some of the games to look forward to as far as midweek fixtures are concerned. You have some news as far as engaging with him. Just tell us about when that's happening, because that's quite going to be part of the people peppering the new Bafana coach with questions. That's happening tomorrow morning. What's your first question you're asking?
The host of the interview is Thomas, my colleague. So I'll just be there with him.
Okay.
Hugo Process, that SABC as the partners of SAFA as well,
Yes.
I remember this similar interview. Then my colleagues went to do a similar interview in Brazil.
Okay.
I think it was for Carlos Pereira at the time. Walter Mukwana the other day, we were talking about that.
Right.
So it is that because I think he's arriving tonight.
Okay.
And tomorrow, as from tomorrow, he'll be involved in a series of meetings.
Okay.
And part of those meetings are also to talk about the composition of his technical team.
Okay.
I understand that he's arriving with an assistant. He has been working in some of the smaller leagues in Europe as a head coach there.
Okay.
You must understand that when he was in Cameroon and won that AFCON title in 2017, he had the former Simba coach, Sven, who's now also coached Zambia as well, and also now is at FAS Rabat in Morocco. I remember even interviewing him at Simba in the last derby that I attended. So you can see that he doesn't just go around with any type of backroom staff or assistant coaches. If he goes and then he leaves behind people who get to assume these big jobs.
Yes.
So they know what they are here for. I mean, if you can come in and take a head coach. So I think people are interested to see now on the choice because I believe that SAFA has forwarded some names for him to choose from as assistant
as a
coach.
local representation.
Yes. It was thought that the former Bafana coach was on the line to be his assistant. But I think maybe things didn't go well because they ended up releasing him from his contract.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the front runner there now automatically becomes the current under-23 head coach.
David Notwan.
David Notwan, because I think for his first few weeks they're going to work very closely. Because they are going... there's a camp. Since there's been this
extension,
this postponement of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers, it means that now under 23, I know that there's international matches that they have to play a tournament in Dubai next month. Brazil, Argentina, and South Korea. And from what I'm getting, the bulk of the Bafana squad going forward is coming from this under 23.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And I mean, it seems like he's that kind of guy, right?
He's already said it. That his squad is going to be composed mainly of under 25 players. When you look at the ages,
people are going to retire now, bro.
Time is up.
He shouldn't get so excited easily.
But I think he's experienced enough.
Yes.
I spoke to a colleague, NG. It's also one of the studies I've done for Itiski for tomorrow. And he was telling me how tactically astute, but also how pragmatic in his approach he is. But just he was telling me about what kind of a person
For sure.
Hugo Broos is,
For sure.
and how he got to win that AFCON without 10 of his stars.
Yes, exactly.
So I think he's an experienced coach. We will find out more from him tomorrow morning. I've dealt with him when he played against us
Yes.
in the AFCON qualifiers where we couldn't go to Gabon when they won the tournament. So it's going to be interesting to hear from him and what he has for us, because look, I think for me, one thing at least that makes me happy is that we're getting a coach who understands African football.
Yes.
You know, a coach who knows if you are going to go to Rades, if you are going to Cairo, if you are going to Kampala, here next to my friend here, if you are going to Ouagadougou,
what
or
to
in
do when you
Dakar,
get there.
what do you need to get points? Because only points
Yes.
qualify you to the AFCON
Exactly.
and the World Cup and nothing else. And I am saying this fully understanding that the national team is not development. If you want to develop, go there to the under 20 and under 23. In fact, even under 23 is too late.
Sure,
go to under
exactly.
17.
Yes.
National team is about results.
For sure.
You understand?
Simple as.
Yes.
Simple as.
You know, for me, he has to be mindful of the fact that you don't easily discard the senior players, but how you manage them. For me, what is key about, you know, I've been long enough in South Africa to know if the mentality is not right, it's going to have a problem. Because you're coming from Cameroon, where naturally they are hard workers. They want to fight for anything. They want to market themselves to the European world. They want to go and try to better themselves. And then you have got players who are playing at Sundowns. They are quite comfortable to remain in South Africa instead of going to Europe. So they are comfortable playing in South Africa vis-a-vis going to Europe. So for me, the biggest challenge that's going to meet is going to be the psyche of the players to get these players to believe that actually they are playing for themselves to better themselves than what they are now.
Right.
If they get that attitude well, it's very important. Two, there has been always the announcement of youngsters and being promoted before their right time. The best way to promote the youngsters is this youngster. If you look at what is happening at Sundowns, the youngsters actually, they may look better than the senior players, but they are not displacing the senior players. They are being given an opportunity because they want to rest the senior players. They are maintaining that respect between the two. So you won't have a young player overriding the senior player or thinking is better than the senior player. That competition is healthy in the squad. The moment you promote a youngster to try and override the senior players, you're going to have a problem. If they get that balance right, you're going to have a very competitive Bafana squad. It has happened in clubs where the coach will come, they're youngsters. In my playing career, I used to have a challenge with the coach. You know, you have lost 2-0, 3-0. And he says, you know what? We played well, we shall improve. And I'm like, you know, it's a team talk. What do you think? I said, coach, we lost 3-0. How good did we play? And they said, no. It's a problem. Yeah, they are youngsters. I said, no. If a player is put on the first team to compete and look for 3 points, he's young in age, but not young in getting the 3 points.
Right.
So that's for me the most important mentality that I have to create. You can have a 17-year-old kid who is very mature to look for 3 points that's going to lead to the league title. Once you get that right, then you'll differentiate between the falseness of youngster and senior players. You can be young in age, but very mature on competing on the field of play.
Yeah, I think it's also important that the coach is bringing this up. I think it's about time to really refresh the national team. Also have the new energies coming in. Yes, it's true what Tim is saying. Not fully agree, but yes, I agree with most of the point that he's putting out. I think there's a time where I was in the national team for 10 years, where we were being prepared for the first team. And the only players that made it to that first team, which was Stuart Buster, if I'm not mistaken, and Steve Compella was the assistant coach. So he worked with us for over like 10 years, 9 years, so if I'm not mistaken. And it's only 4 players that actually made the cut to the national team. And then the rest of the players from there, they just vanish. So the players that were there,
The
like that,
pipeline to the
yeah,
ends.
like that bulk of that squad, it
Mm.
was like a squad that was going to just walk through to the national team, because yes, we could see the gaps, but now how do you merge that and get them to the national team? Because they
Yeah.
will call one player
Yeah.
at a time,
Yeah.
or when we play like our friendly games, it wasn't that so disciplined. But if you find a coach like this, as Tim is saying, with the Western and with the Western players, they always, when they play for the national team, they put themselves in the window. We are so comfortable to stay at home, whereby we have
100%.
familiar surroundings. You don't want to get out there to be seen, because remember, this is a short career. Go out there, make your check, come back home, then maybe we can think of other things that you can do. No, this is not about a car wash. A car wash will not pay your salary, because car wash you can only go there when you have money.
You know, the DStv Premier League is a very beautiful league. So what is important at this moment in time? Go out in Europe, make the money, and then come home and retire peacefully,
Right.
with respect and dignity. If you can't change that mentality, I already say the squad of 1996, the bulk of their players were in Europe. Not entirely. No, I'm saying, okay.
They moved to Europe after.
Okay, we can say that. But even when they were after that, whenever they were coming, they were coming from Europe. Not entirely that they were playing.
Yeah, but also we must not forget that the economical dynamics of the league were different back then.
We can agree that, but
and that's part of the problem, isn't it? Is that we've made it so comfortable.
Let's look,
For players not
because
to move.
a player comes back from KV Ostende, and he comes and play here and earn 3 times what he was getting in Belgium.
I mean,
there's no need for
why
you
would
to
you
go
want to
there.
A
go?
West African player or East African player doesn't have that luxury.
Yes. Yes.
Look, the most important thing is the impact of playing away from home.
Right.
What it builds into this player.
Sure.
You may not be playing week in, week out, but what you are learning in those training sessions, the mentality to withstand and compete in those conditions. When you come back home, when you come back to Bafana or the local club,
right,
the difference will always show. You're
100%.
seeing that with the Pasi Tao. When he comes and is putting on that Bafana squad, even when he's half fit, it shows.
Yeah, I can tell you, the next Bafana squad, the starting lineup, if it's not half, if it's not 50-50, it will be overseas dominated.
Do you think it's about time?
Yeah,
that I can assure you.
Yeah,
it should be.
That,
I think
that I can assure you. You know, I've been watching recently. I've been watching a number of these games. I see a Luther Singh starting and chasing a Benfica or a Sporting Lisbon or a Porto, and then I'm saying, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
He plays here and is not starting.
Exactly.
You understand? I don't want to mention names. You know who's starting ahead of him. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, you know
how?
You know
how?
So these things, I can assure you. This I can assure you. And this thing has got nothing to do with looking at. For me, an overseas starting lineup dominated by overseas-based players, with players who are playing in the CAF Champions League, CAF Confed. That is an ideal.
For sure.
Yeah,
no,
for
you're
me,
right.
I would
You're
say
right.
if let's say on the same point that Velili just put out, I think when you have such players at the with that pedigree, I think with the incoming coach, it's easier for him to work with that, because we deal with that mostly in the European side, where the tactical aspect comes in. It's easy for players to fall into the pattern. It will be easy for the coach to get the players in gear quickly.
He'll want those kind of players,
and
then
also
he'll bet in his ideas quicker.
And also to get players from our country to be less comfortable to be playing here. Yes, we
100%.
do understand. We need players to go out, so then we can get that international experience. That's as Mr. Veli has put it. Playing in a camp in a CAF Champions League, it also opens a window for you to be scouted elsewhere, because on those games they're widely televised. Now, when you find a player that is only going to be seen when he's playing a derby against Chiefs and Pirates, that's not enough. So go out there, put yourself on the window, so that you can be a contributor to the society.
You just check from the time Sundown started competing in the CAF Champions League tournament.
Yes.
And compare with their results today. You're gonna understand why.
There's a direct link.
Tim, go say it. Sundowns made 80 million rands from just 2 players.
Yeah.
They are sitting on top of 2-3 offers now. You know, and or on some of the players who are playing now.
And you know what is
from
interesting?
Europe.
This is what is happening.
You know,
the reason why Pirate Chiefs were still the brand that they want to still believe they are is one. When you have that team playing well, every good player in this country will want to go to that club.
Yeah.
At this moment in time,
It's a market.
every player will want to go to Sundowns.
Exactly.
Every player. Why? Because of the opportunities that are there. So that's the key. Compete at that level, you're gonna attract the best in the country.
Makes sense.
They know it's a CAF Champions League knockout team. What is it? Knockout stage team.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That's the pedigree of the team. Last caller for the evening. Who are we speaking to?
Hello, Kamza. How are you? It's Mohamed from Midland.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm good yourself.
I'm
Good
okay,
evening to your panelists there also.
How's it?
Good
So
evening.
I'll
What's
be
on your
brief.
mind, bro?
I know we are rushing to watch the Cairo Derby.
Yes,
So
yes.
I wanted to talk about the Champions League, the participation of Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns. But quickly, let me just touch on the Bafana issue. I think we have the right coach. Let's just give him support. The guy is experienced, apart from being old, and the guy never worked in South Africa. It's not gonna be like
influenced by agents
and then he gets Pirates players, and there's outcry that he's choosing quite a lot of Pirates players. Let's give Hugo Bruce a chance. I know that I've been following him on a lot of interviews. He's been echoing the same thing. That the guy's experienced and he's a very good coach, and I'm saying South Africa, let's give him a chance, and I think he'll deliver.
Good.
So coming to CAF Champions League,
yes,
I want to warn Kaizer Chiefs supporter. I'm a Mamelodi Sundowns supporter. I've had a couple of guys undermining Simba. I've watched all Simba games, home and away. Here's Vita and Al Ahly. Simba can play away. I've watched all Kaizer Chiefs game, local and CAF Champions League, and I'm saying to them, I don't want to say Chiefs is not matched to Simba. I don't want to undermine my home team, but I'm saying to them, they must not undermine Simba. It's a very, very good team. And for me, Simba is even better than Al Ahly at the moment. Right. So coming to Sundowns, I think Sundowns game and Al Ahly is not only going to be tactical, it's also going to be emotional.
Right.
So I've been following Pete on Twitter recently, past 2-3 days. He's been tweeting quite a lot, hour after an hour, posting pictures with your Melanie Sons and a lot of South African presenters and also Sundown supporters, that big flag that Sundown supporter did for him and all that. So I know that he's a person with mind games, and he has started with his mind games. I don't know what he's trying to achieve, but all I can say to you is that it's going to be a very emotional game in Cairo, and don't be surprised when there's tension. But I think Sundowns is going to win. I'll tell you why. The current Sundowns is not playing the same way as the Peter Sundowns.
Interesting.
In CAF Champions League.
Let's see.
The Peter Sundowns in CAF Champions League was always defensive when playing away.
Yeah.
But the Sundowns of Mangawa and Steve Kompela is offensive, home and away. And I'm looking to a very interesting game. Thanks, gentlemen. Good evening.
Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it.
Good.
We're going to end it with this. Mpumelelo Nyoga saying, can Zamalek win and Sundowns win? We want Pito at Naturina.
By the way, Pito Mosimane came very close to coaching Kaizer Chiefs.
If these results don't go his way, do you think it's a possibility?
I don't know. But
open your arms,
but I think for me, Pito still wants to be at that level that he's in now.
Right.
I don't think it's Pito's desire to come back home.
Yeah.
I think he will fight to be that stage, and I think there are still people who believe him in that board that he can turn things around.
Right.
Because even now, they have not lost anything. They are African champions. They have got 2 games in hand. They beat Zamalek today. They go back. They close that gap and still maintain that 2 games in hand.
Right.
So not all is lost.
Sure. Sure.
But I think in this time, there's a 3 p.m. factor. In the second leg. That's the 3 p.m. factor.
Right.
And Peter knows.
Yes.
That's why the first leg is important.
Okay.
He must settle the tie in the first leg. Otherwise, the 3 p.m. factor will catch up with him.
There we go. Gents, thank you so much. I think we hit 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Full time.
No
Not
extra
extra time,
time.
like Calvin. That's all you, brother. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who keeps the conversation going in the YouTube comment section. We really do appreciate you. Remember to subscribe, and then we'll be notified as soon as we go live or when we post stuff on our YouTube. But thank you so much to the team behind the scenes as well who made this possible. For myself, Gamzambata, and my panel, gents.
Sharp.
Sharp.
Thank
Catch you
you.
later.